Coming up on Valley View News, a small Salvadorian restaurant in Pico Union reinvents the pupusa with a little bit of American twist. Plus, a 6-month project honoring Native Americans had its moment in the sun. Washing Waters is the largest above-ground mural in the San Fernando Valley. And young Latinos learn more about their culture by performing traditional dances.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Luis Zuniga.
And I'm Ricardo Sandoval.
CAL FIRE is suing In-N-Out for a 2017 wildfire in Arroyo Grande. CAL FIRE says the fire was caused by a tractor mowing grass on an In-N-Out property. The tractor was allegedly covered in annual grasses and scattered brush, resulting in flammable vegetation. The fire burned for 4 days and burned 245 acres. CAL FIRE is seeking $1.2 million to recoup costs.
Firefighters responded to a fire of an abandoned building in Van Nuys on Sunday. Fire officials say the blaze is suspicious because there was a fire on all 5 floors, which usually does not happen. Officials also evacuated an encampment of homeless people living in an adjacent parking lot in order to keep them safe from falling debris. Investigators are trying to look into what started the blaze.
6 people fell ill on board a dock cruise ship at the port of Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Fire Department responded to the incident on the Norwegian cruise ship. Fire officials say 4 passengers were taken to local hospitals. One passenger says the crew washed down everything in the dining area before sitting new people down. A cause for the illness hasn't been determined.
A small restaurant in LA is giving Salvadorian dishes an extra touch while combining different cultures in them. Valley View's Ana Ramos combines English and Spanish to complete this culinary story.
Wondering what that is? Well, that's a pupusa. Bienvenidos to La Pupusa Urban Eatery, a modern Salvadoran restaurant between Washington Boulevard and Pico Union. Founded in 2017 by couple Juan and Stephanie, this Salvadoran restaurant has a mission: bring something different to the Angelinos.
We're not a typical Salvadoran restaurant. We're not traditional at all. Our style is more urban.
Here you can find
Ofrecemos bistec encebollado, como sopa de gallina, sopa de pata, sopa de res, empanadas, yuca.
But aside from the traditional Salvadoran food that we typically eat, La Pupusa makes its food go from the usual to the extraordinary with an LA twist.
Meet La Mañanera.
Es una pupusa típica.
It's a typical pupusa with 2 eggs on top, salsa, rice, and Salvadoran cream.
And La Mexicana, a pupusa topped with meat, pico de gallo, guacamole, cream, and cheese, just like a taco.
Our food ideas come from all the different cultures here in LA, the cultures we are surrounded with. We combine Salvadoran dishes with other foods we see here.
The unique food styles shared on their social media make many people want to visit from different parts of the world.
This is my first time. I came from Australia to try this food. I've been following them on Instagram for a while now, and I had to come try the food while I'm in LA.
So if you're ever craving Salvadoran food with an extra touch, you know where to go. And remember, never eat pupusas with a fork. In Los Angeles, I'm Ana Ramos for Valley View News.
The largest above-ground mural in the San Fernando Valley is now in Pacoima. This mural was a 6-month-long project. Muralist and CSUN grad Levi Ponce says he wants to pay tribute to the rich Native American history in the San Fernando Valley. The project was founded by Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez. She says the mural will honor a stunning reflection of the Pacoima community and history.
Before this, there was nothing but blight at this intersection. It's one of the biggest arteries of traffic for this area, and it's a huge welcome for this area. So it's an incredible transformation for both visitors and people, locals, people who live here already.
For an area that has historically had underinvestment in infrastructure, in art installations, this is going to be transformative for this area, and it's just a step in the right direction to all the progress that I'm proud to continue to shepherd as the councilwoman for this area, and working in partnership with local artists. We're going to continue to do more great work.
The mural is inspired by the community's cultural roots that represents its past, present, and future.
Meanwhile, some young Latinos are creating their own identity in the U.S., but learning about their culture can be tricky, being far away from their parents' homelands. Valley View News reporter Salvin Rodas has a story in English and Spanish about a Latina who is keeping her Mexican identity alive.
Many parents of young Latinos say they worry their children won't grow up with the same appreciation for their own culture because they're not surrounded by it. But some parents celebrate their heritage by teaching their kids activities they grew up with. Hay más de 35 millones de jóvenes latinos viviendo en los Estados Unidos y para muchos de ellos es muy importante aprender acerca de su cultura. Este es el caso de Natalie Barba, quien es parte de un grupo folclórico. Dice que hay mucho que aprender sobre la cultura latina.
They can learn about their own culture, all the art and music Mexico has to offer. I think it's nice that younger generations have the opportunity to learn about it.
Natalie fue inscrita al grupo folclórico Nuestras Raíces cuando tenía 9 años. Su mamá, Zoila Barba, dice que le inculcó las danzas folclóricas a su hija porque es una forma de aprender acerca de sus raíces.
When I was younger in my dance classes, I was always the first one to raise my hand to participate. When I discovered there was the opportunity for my daughter to learn folklore dancing here, I wanted her to learn about our own Mexican culture.
En Nuestras Raíces, los estudiantes pueden aprender variedades de danzas tradicionales. Argelia Andrade, directora del grupo, dice que se manejan danzas mexicanas.
You can dance without shoes or with huaraches, a traditional Mexican shoe. Some people prefer to use regular dance shoes or even boots.
Research shows that 1 million Latinos will turn 18 this year and every year for the next 2 decades, and more Latinos are finding communities they belong to. I'm Selvin Rodas, back to you to the studio.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal found that more than 50,000 Californians moved to Nevada from July 2017 to July 2018. This accounted for nearly 40% of total number of people who moved from another state during that time. Some believe the large migration of Californians moving to Nevada is a result of the no state income taxes and a lower cost of living. Census figures found that in total, 127,000 people moved to Nevada from other states, and another 14,000 people moved there from abroad.
Chinese businesswoman Eugene Zhang could be headed to prison for trespassing into President Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort. Prosecutors want Zhang to get 18 months in prison. The 33-year-old Shanghai consultant was convicted in September for her March trespassing arrest, and she was also charged with lying to Secret Service agents who arrested her. Zhang was caught with 4 cell phones, a computer, and an external hard drive. Text messages presented at trial suggested she's obsessed with Trump.
In Alabama, officials say a Purdue University student died after falling into a 200-foot cave in Jackson County. The sheriff says the student was attempting to adjust a loose rig. He was with 4 other experienced cavers. The other cavers had to exit the cave for help. They then walked another 2 miles to get cell phone signal.
The Cambodian American community is small. Still, it can be hard to get information about what's happening. Valley View News reporter Timothy Tien has a story of one small station that's trying to close the communications gap in the Cambodian community.
A green screen lines Khmer TV's walls. 2 anchors sit at a desk. They hope to bring information about the Cambodian American or Khmer population to its people. Tony Lai started his Bellflower-based station because he used to struggle with finding information about his community.
I have no idea that they have the parades. I have no idea that they have Cambodian town exist. You know, you live right here but because you don't have information.
Ready on 5, 4, 3.
And it's not just the Khmer community he's trying to reach. Lai says he wants to find ways to bring Cambodian culture into mainstream American culture.
I sponsor the Cambodian dancer they call Khmer art. I sponsor them to go out and dance so that way at least it shows our culture to other people.
When they call in, they're going to call into the phone.
He does this to give Khmer people a voice. Kampik Va says the Cambodian community is hugely underrepresented in media.
When I go to these events, there's not that many news outlets and there's not much coverage.
Khmer TV also offers up studio space like this for students to use for free. This gives them a place and an opportunity for them to learn and get off the streets. Reporting from Bellflower for Valley View News, I'm Timothy Tien.
The Supreme Court refused to review the case of Adnan Syed. He was the prisoner featured in the first season of the podcast Serial. The justices wouldn't rule on a Maryland Court of Appeals decision opposing a retrial for him. Syed is serving a life sentence for killing his girlfriend. The Supreme Court wouldn't take the case, saying Syed had ineffective counsel after his attorney died.
Former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg says he's running for president in 2020. Bloomberg said he wants to get Trump out of the White House. He claims he's a more moderate candidate with a moderate vision for the country. He says he's a doer, not a talker. The Boston native says he doesn't believe any of the Democratic candidates have a shot at beating Trump. Bloomberg bought $37 million worth of advertisements that will run for the next 2 weeks.
Ex-Trump aide George Papadopoulos announced his bid for California's 25th congressional district seat. The seat was vacated by Democrat Katie Hill. The former Trump aide teased the announcement and filed paperwork with the Federal Election Commission. The seat was in GOP hands for 26 years until Hill won it in the 2018 midterm election.
Secretary of Defense Mark Esper fired Navy Secretary Richard Spencer on Sunday. His termination results from a loss of confidence over his handling of the case of Chief Petty Officer Edward Gallagher. Gallagher is accused of committing war crimes during his 2017 deployment to Iraq. President Trump weighed in on Spencer's termination on Twitter. He thanked him for his service and commitment. Spencer allegedly privately told the White House that he'd ensure Gallagher retired as a Navy SEAL. That contradicted his public stance on the case. While Spencer didn't mention making a proposal in a letter to President Trump, he did acknowledge his termination, and he says he tried to ensure the legal proceedings would be fair.
Well, Itayetsi, do you think my outfit could have made the AMA's red carpet?
Oh no, I don't think so. But let me tell you about some AMA performances. The 2019 American Music Awards were filled with jaw-dropping performances of this year's biggest artists. Starting performances from the Artist of the Decade, Taylor Swift, to Toni Braxton wowing the audience performing her biggest throwbacks. After 2 years, Selena Gomez returned to the AMA stage to perform her new singles, Lose You to Love Me and Look at Her Now. Ciara did not stay behind. Not only did she host the AMAs, but she also performed her latest hit, Melanin, along a legendary performance by Post Malone, Travis Scott, and Ozzy Osbourne, as they performed Take What You Want. To close the night, Shania Twain performed a medley filled with some of music's biggest hits. Twain, who hasn't performed on the AMA stage in over 16 years, left the audience speechless. Not only were the 2019 AMAs filled with amazing performances by Lizzo, Travis Scott, and Ciara, amongst others, but many of them also took home trophies for winning in their nominated categories. Taylor Swift broke record for the most won AMAs of all time, winning 23 throughout her career. Behind her followed Carrie Underwood, who broke another record for the most wins in the favorite country album category. Post Malone did not stay behind, being nominated for 7 categories, including Artist of the Year and winning favorite rap hip-hop album. After multiple nominations, Halsey, Lil Nas X, and Billie Eilish also took home their first AMA. Over $350 million worth of jewelry was robbed from rapper Iggy Azalea's and Playboy Cardi's Atlanta home. According to police, the rapper's home was broken into in less than 10 minutes. It is said the robber entered the couple's home through the back door, which was left unlocked for Cardi. The robber then took a designer bag filled with millions of dollars worth of jewelry. In it were items like a $35,000 engagement ring, 7 diamond rings, and 2 rose gold diamond chains. Most of the pieces stolen belonged to Cardi. K-pop star Gohara was found dead last weekend. The cause of her death is still unknown. However, police are calling it a suicide. This comes after the singer attempted suicide back in May when her ex-boyfriend began to blackmail her. She was then found unconscious in her Seoul home after posting the word goodbye on her Instagram account. She later apologized to her fans for causing concern, saying she was recovering from many things, but that she'd get herself up. After the attempt, her agency terminated her contract, but in June, she signed a new contract with Ogi, where she gained popularity. Hara is not the first K-pop star to die by suicide this year. Disney's Frozen 2 set new records at the box office. The animation grossed an estimated $127 million in the US and $350 million worldwide. The Associated Press says a sequel to Frozen is the largest opening to have been released by Disney. Frozen 2 is on its way on becoming the company's sixth film to have made more than $1 billion. The original film grossed $1.27 billion and remained in the top 10 for 17 weeks. Disney distributor chief says they hope to have a good run during the holidays since kids are out of school. That's all for your entertainment news. I am Itayetsi Angeles.
I wonder what's going on campus this week, Luis.
Let's find out. For this week's headlines, let's go to Sundial's Andrea Esparza. Andrea?
Thank you. This week at the Sundial, we used our platform to display student art in our Arts and Literature issue, which is now available. And make sure to tune in online for new and updated content. That sums it up here at the Sundial. Thank you, and back to you.
More to come on Valley View News. Australian wildfires are affecting the koala population.
And now's the time to stop eating salads. The CDC issues another warning about romaine lettuce. Stay with us.
Let's hear from Grisel in our Digital Media Center. Grisel?
Pope Francis arrived in Japan for a 4-day tour of the country. He met with some of the victims of the triple disaster of 2011. The trip is only the second papal visit to Japan in nearly 40 years. The pontiff is scheduled to meet with Japan's Emperor Naruhito and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Francis traveled to Nagasaki and Hiroshima, where the United States dropped atomic bombs to end World War II. He then traveled to Hiroshima to visit the Peace Memorial. Wildfires in South Australia could cause the koala population's extinction. The Australia Zoo says there are only about 40,000 to 100,000 koalas left. Droughts, high temperatures, and fierce winds fueled the wildfires. 2 men in Germany broke into the Green Vault at Dresden's Royal Palace. A fire broke out nearby. This caused the museum's alarm to deactivate. They stole 3 sets of 18th century jewelry. The suspects got away with what's being called the biggest robbery since World War II. Hong Kong residents won a victory for pro-democracy candidates in a vote for local district councils. Candidates won 85% of the seats up for election. The pro-government camp won 13% of seats versus 65% 4 years ago. The casting ballots doubled in comparison to the previous election. The results will add pressure to the government to diminish police abuse and give the ability to nominate and elect city leaders. A park in Zimbabwe took elephants from their mothers and placed them in cages in China. A park manager says this is part of their management plan.
As an authority, we believe that the elephants must pay for their upkeep. They must also pay for their protection.
The Zimbabwe government says these animals need to be sold to finance their conservation efforts. In the last few months, more than 200 elephants died from drought. One animal rights inspector says these elephants don't belong in the parks, but rather to the people of Zimbabwe. That is all for international news. I'm Grisel Martin. Back to you in the studio.
Cold, windy, and rainy conditions were not the only problem the Cowboys faced Sunday during their 13-9 loss in Foxborough. The Cowboys' number 1 ranked offense struggled to move the wet ball against the number 1 ranked Patriots defense. Star receiver Amari Cooper was held to 0 catches and dropped a crucial 4th down pass to seal the game for New England. A series of Cowboys special team errors contributed to the loss, including a blocked punt, which led to a 10-yard touchdown pass from Tom Brady. After the game, frustrated fans made #FireGarrett trend on Twitter. This was referencing the Cowboys head coach. Fans also started a petition to have Coach Garrett fired. The petition has more than 4,000 signatures.
Taking selfies with fans after a win is never a problem, except when those selfies are taken before the game is over. Washington Redskins rookie quarterback Dwayne Haskins did just that after the Washington defense forced a turnover to secure the team's second victory. Haskins didn't realize he needed to be on the field for the victory formation. The NFL hasn't decided yet if it'll take disciplinary action against Haskins.
The Clippers captured their 11th victory of the season against the Houston Rockets. The two Western Conference foes went back and forth at Staples Center. The Clipper duo of Paul George and Kawhi Leonard combined for 43 points, while Houston superstar James Harden had a double-double with 37 points and 12 assists. But that wasn't enough, since the Clippers edged out the Rockets 122-119. The Clips are now in third place of the Western Conference behind the second-place Denver Nuggets and the first-place Los Angeles Lakers.
The CDC says you should avoid eating lettuce from Salinas, California. Health officials say 40 people were infected from 16 states. The CDC is recalling whole heads of romaine, hearts of romaine, packages of pre-cut lettuce, and salad mixes which contain romaine. Health officials say most romaine lettuce products are labeled with a harvest location, but if it isn't labeled with a growing region, don't eat it.
Goshen Health is getting sued. More than 1,000 patients may have been exposed to diseases. Officials say a sterilization technician failed to complete a step when sterilizing equipment. Goshen Hospital officials say it sent a letter to patients seen between April 1st and September 30th. Patients may have been exposed to hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and HIV. The hospital is offering free testing for patients to see if they were infected.
As a part of our special series on mental health, reporter Scott Gierman spoke to a high school student who talks about her own experience with managing stress while maintaining good grades. She's very concerned about her future.
Students dealing with stress isn't something new. The National College Health Assessment explains that the #1 issue for students is anxiety and depression. But these problems don't just begin in college, and high school students have their own struggles.
A recent study published by the Pew Research Center showed that 70% of high school teens show signs of anxiety and depression. That is a major problem. But inside the classroom, many students are preparing for life after high school and dealing with the pressures of classes with a high workload. Santa Susana High School student Mitra Hushmandi says there is a lot of pressure.
I lose sleep all the time. I don't sleep. I don't get to eat normally. I don't spend time with my family.
Hushmandi said she had a difficult childhood, which made her vulnerable to high-stress situations in the classroom.
It's really mentally deteriorating. Anything that I do wrong is going to affect something about my future. I'm doing community college because it's cheap and it's good education. But after that, I don't know what I'm going to do because I know I'm not good enough to qualify for scholarships. I know I'm not like any special or any different from other people.
So it's color-coded for them.
Teachers in the classrooms are sometimes the only ones to see and hear the struggles of students. Royal High School teacher Brett Daly says many students come to him.
If they don't trust you enough with their problems, how are you supposed to teach them? Okay, so the idea is not to be the psychiatrist or, to sit down and actually, diagnose the problem, but to be able to have the conversation.
High school students are more stressed than ever. Experts say teachers and administration need to maintain a watchful eye. For Valley View News, I'm Scott Gierman.
Again, Scott's story is a part of a special report on mental health. Next week, reporter Karissa Preciado talks to an ex-gang member. His mental health issues were exacerbated by drug use. Coming up on Valley View News, an unveiling of a cyber truck.
Also, a new social media platform is planning to make a breakthrough. Stay tuned. Let's go to social media and tech with Alan.
As marijuana is more accessible to those in the Southland, one town's source of flower comes from the trunk of a CEO's car. Valley View News reporter Zach Ferber has more on the story.
This is for you, and also your loyalty is inside, so what I'm going to ask.
With marijuana becoming more easy to access, you may not have to drive out of town and can stay at home to get everything you need to smoke.
You're not just someone that brings marijuana to people. You build relationships. I kind of consider myself a therapist.
James is the CEO of Vader Delivery Group in the Santa Clarita Valley. Vader grows, sells, and delivers their own marijuana, and in a town that has no storefronts, James aims to give quality service with a familiar feeling.
It's like you're literally the Santa Claus all year long. You're bringing happiness. Everybody's super happy when they see you.
Driving all around town, Johnson says he drives the same amount of miles it takes to make it to Las Vegas. But what makes him and his business successful is client feedback.
Good to see you, man. Always a pleasure.
Prior delivery services still had to have cash. So it was like, I still need to leave my house. Like, what's the point?
Customer service, the delivery time, the stamped card. No other place has that.
You can't beat the stamp card.
Yeah, right. Nah, man.
2019 was a big year for marijuana, and experts expect nothing but the same in 2020. However, as big business looms over the marijuana industry, many mom and pop stores might find themselves out of luck. In Santa Clarita, for Valley View News, I'm Zach Ferber.
McDonald's is paying $26 million to settle a class action lawsuit over wage theft. This is the latest development in a series of issues between the restaurant chain and its employees. About 38,000 people are represented in the lawsuit. The suit ends the multi-year legal battle between the company and California workers. The suit alleges McDonald's was breaking overtime payment laws and denying employees timely breaks. The restaurant will periodically train employees at corporate-owned California restaurants on their rights. This includes receiving 10-minute breaks every 2 hours and getting new uniforms at no cost to replace ones that have been worn out or damaged. eBay is selling its StubHub ticketing businesses to Viagogo, a European rival, in a $4 billion all-cash deal. Viagogo is a Switzerland-based company that also resells tickets. The combined companies expect to sell hundreds of thousands of tickets each day across more than 70 countries. Viagogo's founder and CEO, Eric Baker, says the merger is a win-win for fans. The sale is scheduled to close in the first quarter of 2020. Louis Vuitton is buying Manhattan Jewelry, Tiffany & Company. The French luxury group will pay $135 per share, valuing Tiffany at about $16.2 billion. The deal is one of the largest in the history of the luxury sector. The deal will bolster Louis Vuitton's jewelry and watch lineup, while also boosting the French company's presence in the United States. There's a new alternative to Facebook, focusing on family. Cocoon launched on Apple's iOS just in time for the Thanksgiving holidays. But Cocoon bills itself as neither a social media network or a messaging app. It considers itself as a more intimate private space for friends and family. People can post updates, and the app also supports automatic updates. This means Cocoon can give members of your group an insight into your location, movement, and activity. Elon Musk shot down any worries over whether Tesla's Cybertruck would sell. The billionaire tweeted saying 200,000 people are pre-ordering the truck after the unveiling. Musk added that 41% of the orders were for the triple-motor all-wheel drive that starts at $69,900. You only need a $100 down payment to pre-order, but it's still going to take years for the truck to reach people's driveways. Production won't start until 2021, with the triple-motor all-wheel drive version starting production a year later. That's all for social media and tech news. I'm Alan Cardoza. Back to you, Luis.
Drivers in Florida were saying "cluck the police" on Friday. The Miami Gardens police were pulling over random drivers to give them turkeys, not tickets. Police Chief Delma Noel Pratt says the department wanted to give back for the holidays. Pratt says this event is one of many to show police are more than just enforcers. That's all for us here at Valley View News. Thank you for watching. I'm Luis Zuniga.
And I'm Ricardo Sandoval. For news any time of the day, go to our website, sundial.csun.edu. See you next week.